Africa and BRICS. The Future of Trade Explained, 2025 Outlook. Today we're diving into one of the most significant geopolitical and economic shifts happening right now, the growing relationship between Africa and BRICS, and what it means for the future of global trade. You might have heard about BRICS expanding, but what you probably don't realize is just how dramatically this is reshaping Africa's economic future. We're not talking about distant possibilities here. We're talking about concrete changes happening right now in 2025 that are already affecting millions of African lives and trillions of dollars in global trade. By the end of this video, you'll understand why 3 African nations are now full BRICS members, why Nigeria just became a partner country in January 2025, and what this means for the continent that's home to over 1.4 billion people. This isn't just about economics. This is about a fundamental shift in how the world does business. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we break down complex global trends that mainstream media often oversimplifies. Let's get started. The BRICS expansion reality. Let me start with some numbers that will blow your mind. As of 2025, BRICS Plus now accounts for 46% of the world's population and 35.6% of global GDP at purchasing power parity. But here's what's really incredible. Intra-BRICS trade reached $614.8 billion as of 2022, and that number is exploding. In January 2024, something historic happened. Egypt and Ethiopia officially joined BRICS as full members, joining South Africa to create what experts are calling an African continental axis within the world's most important emerging economies bloc. Then, in January 2025, Nigeria officially became a partner country, bringing the total number of BRICS partner countries to 9. Think about this. Nigeria, with over 220 million inhabitants, isn't just Africa's most populous country. It's an enormously attractive market for trade and investment. Its wealth of resources, particularly in oil, gas, and critical raw materials, is of great interest to energy-hungry BRICS members like China and India. But this isn't just about resources. 3 African nations, South Africa, Egypt, and Ethiopia, are now full BRICS members, while Nigeria, Uganda, and Algeria are close partners awaiting full membership. We're witnessing the creation of an African power bloc within the world's fastest-growing economic alliance. Story 1. Egypt's economic transformation. Let's start with Egypt because what's happening there shows exactly why BRICS membership matters. Egypt joined BRICS in January 2024 with a clear strategy: attract more investment and rescue its battered economy. Egypt has close commercial ties with both China and India, and political ties with Russia. But BRICS membership isn't just diplomatic window dressing, it's delivering real economic benefits. Through BRICS cooperation, Egypt is gaining access to alternative sources of finance, particularly from the BRICS-owned New Development Bank. Here's why this matters. The New Development Bank offers financing options that are less restrictive than the conditions imposed by Western institutions like the International Monetary Fund or World Bank. For Egypt, which has been struggling with economic challenges, this represents a lifeline that comes without the traditional strings attached to Western aid. The practical impact is already visible. Egypt is seeing increased Chinese investment in infrastructure projects, expanded trade relationships with India, and new technological partnerships with Brazil and Russia. Egypt's inclusion in BRICS is expected to boost infrastructure development and free trade across Africa, creating opportunities that extend far beyond Egypt's borders. But here's what makes Egypt's story particularly important. It's becoming a gateway for BRICS investment into Africa. With its strategic location connecting Africa, Asia, and Europe, Egypt is positioning itself as the continental hub for BRICS economic activity. Story 2. Ethiopia's strategic positioning. Now let's talk about Ethiopia because this country's BRICS membership represents something even more significant. With about 126.5 million people, Ethiopia is the second most populous nation in Africa after Nigeria, and it's one of the fastest-growing economies in the region. Ethiopia aims to reach lower middle-income status by 2025, and BRICS membership is central to that strategy. But there's something unique about Ethiopia's position. It holds the headquarters of the African Union, making it the diplomatic heart of the continent. Countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa are already at the forefront of fintech, mobile money, and e-commerce. BRICS nations, particularly India and China, possess extensive knowledge in digital inclusion and scalable technological solutions. Ethiopia is leveraging its BRICS membership to access this knowledge and accelerate its own digital transformation. The real story here is about technology transfer. Ethiopian companies are now gaining access to Chinese manufacturing expertise, Indian IT services, Brazilian agricultural technology, and Russian energy solutions. This isn't just trade, it's knowledge sharing that's building Ethiopia's capacity to compete globally. Ethiopia's strategic BRICS partnership is also opening doors to infrastructure financing. The country is securing funding for major projects through the New Development Bank and direct bilateral arrangements with BRICS members. Roads, railways, power plants, and telecommunications infrastructure are being built with BRICS investment and expertise. Story 3. Nigeria's partnership potential. Nigeria's story is perhaps the most exciting because it's happening right now. Nigeria officially became a partner country of BRICS in January 2025, and the potential benefits are staggering. During the 16th annual BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia, the group invited Nigeria and 8 other countries to join as partner countries. Nigeria formally accepted in January 2025, and economists are outlining incredible potential benefits. By cooperating with BRICS, Nigeria hopes to gain investment in infrastructure projects and access to alternative sources of finance. But Nigeria brings something unique to the table. It's Africa's largest economy and most populous country, with a massive domestic market and significant oil and gas reserves. Nigerian economists point out that BRICS membership could help the country diversify its economy beyond oil dependency. Through partnerships with BRICS nations, Nigeria is exploring opportunities in manufacturing, technology, agriculture, and renewable energy. The timing is particularly interesting because US President Donald Trump is threatening to sanction BRICS members if they replace the US dollar as reserve currency. But Nigerian economists argue that the benefits of BRICS partnership, including access to alternative payment systems, reduced dependency on Western financial institutions, and expanded trade opportunities, outweigh these risks. Nigeria's partnership is generating questions about concrete benefits, but early indicators are promising. Nigerian companies are already exploring joint ventures with BRICS firms, particularly in the technology and energy sectors. Story 4. The New Development Bank Advantage. Here's where the BRICS Africa story gets really interesting. The New Development Bank, owned by BRICS nations, is fundamentally changing how African development is financed. Traditional Western institutions like the World Bank and IMF often attach strict conditions to their loans, requirements for economic reforms, governance changes, and policy adjustments that many African countries find restrictive. The New Development Bank operates differently. African BRICS members now have access to development financing that focuses on infrastructure, sustainable development, and economic growth without the traditional conditionalities. This means African countries can finance roads, power plants, hospitals, and schools while maintaining greater sovereignty over their economic policies. The practical impact is already visible across BRICS African members. Infrastructure projects that might have taken years to secure Western financing are moving forward more quickly with BRICS support. Energy projects, transportation networks, and telecommunications infrastructure are being built with fewer bureaucratic hurdles. But it's not just about easier access to money. BRICS members also gain access to technology transfer, technical expertise, and knowledge sharing that comes with these partnerships. When China builds a railway in Ethiopia or India provides IT services to South Africa, they're also transferring knowledge and building local capacity. Story 5. Challenging the global trade order. The biggest story here is how Africa's growing BRICS membership is challenging the traditional global trade order. For decades, African countries have been primarily exporters of raw materials to developed Western nations, importing finished goods at much higher prices. BRICS membership is enabling African countries to break this cycle. Instead of shipping raw materials to Europe and North America for processing, African BRICS members can now sell directly to China for manufacturing, to India for processing, or to Brazil for agricultural value addition. This South-South trade is creating new economic relationships that bypass traditional Western intermediaries. African countries are gaining access to massive consumer markets in China and India, technological expertise from these rapidly developing economies, and investment capital that comes with fewer political strings attached. The numbers tell the story. BRICS' share of world GDP at purchasing power parity is 35.6%, and the organization has 4,716 centi-millionaires and 549 billionaires. This isn't a poor countries club, this is a wealthy, rapidly growing economic bloc that's offering African nations partnership rather than dependency. The 2025 BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro, scheduled for July 6th, 7. We'll focus on global governance reforms and cooperation among the global South community. African BRICS members will be at the table as these discussions reshape international economic relationships. The challenges and opportunities ahead. Now let's be realistic about the challenges. BRICS isn't a perfect solution, and there are legitimate concerns about this shift. First, there's the geopolitical risk. President Trump's threats to sanction BRICS members for moving away from the US dollar create real tensions. African countries must navigate between maintaining relationships with Western partners while building new relationships with BRICS nations. Second, there's the question of dependency. Critics argue that African countries might simply be trading Western dependency for Chinese or Indian dependency. The key is ensuring that BRICS partnerships genuinely build African capacity rather than creating new forms of economic colonialism. Third, there's internal BRICS coordination. China and Russia have different priorities from Brazil and India, and these tensions could affect how BRICS engages with Africa. African members need to navigate these internal dynamics carefully, but the opportunities are enormous. Africa now has access to the world's largest consumer markets, the most dynamic technological innovation, and alternative sources of development finance. African entrepreneurs can now think about selling to 1.4 billion Chinese consumers, or 1.4 billion Indian consumers, not just 500 million Europeans, or 330 million Americans. Conclusion and future outlook. So what does all this mean for Africa's future? We're witnessing the emergence of a multipolar world where African countries have real choices about their economic partnerships. The Africa-BRICS relationship represents more than just trade deals. It's about African countries gaining agency in the global economy. For the first time in modern history, African nations can choose between competing offers for investment, trade, and partnership. Egypt is using BRICS membership to rebuild its economy with fewer Western conditions. Ethiopia is leveraging BRICS partnerships to accelerate its path to middle-income status. Nigeria is exploring how BRICS membership can help diversify its economy beyond oil dependency. With BRICS expanding by 2025, the potential new members could help the bloc surpass the G7 in economic clout. We might be looking at a world where BRICS calls more shots than the G7, and African countries will be integral to that shift. The 2025 outlook shows Africa increasingly integrated into BRICS economic networks, with more countries likely to join as either full members or partners. This isn't just changing African economies, it's reshaping global trade flows and challenging Western economic dominance. Here's my question for you. Do you think this shift toward BRICS partnership is good for Africa, or do you see risks that outweigh the benefits? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into global economic trends. Share this video with anyone who wants to understand how the world economy is really changing. The future of global trade is being written right now, and Africa is no longer just watching from the sidelines, it's helping to write that future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.